I think this is the video that I'm not supposed to make. I think I felt a bit irritated by. I know it sounds silly, but some people saying, me being a fence sitter. I thought, Jesus Christ, I think I've been making myself quite clear. But anyway, regardless, um, there's been sort of more going on in my head, and I have expressed this before, but I know with what's going on at the moment, it will be taken a bit more seriously than it has been the other 800 times I've mentioned it. So people will make out it's like something new. So it's not. But when I look around, and I think the reason I'm making this video is because I see what's going to happen, and I see the way the narrative is going to go. With the way certain people are treating certain words, like ethnonationalists and stuff like that, that they're making it a word it's not. So racist means racist, and ethnonationalist means ethnonationalist, and they're two different things. There are parts of ethnonationalism that can be, and believe it or not, there are parts of civic nationalism that can be, but like I give you for instance, like uh, Dino Bain. I feel a lot of people. I just feel like that's the inference they're making about him. He does make his jabs and stuff like that, as do most people on YouTube. But when you see him, like when he was talking on Vin's channel, you see the actual real passion and what he's actually bothered about. And I think he's worried about what many of us are worried about, and we have been for a little while now, and that is we can see Saudi Arabia buying up sport. And if you don't care about these kinds of things, boxing, sport, then you may not even notice. But they are taking over boxing, and that mean nothing to you. It's just a sport. It's not just the sport. It's they're taking over everything that's worth a lot of money, and they're trying to not only they're trying to help their culture, but it also means they're controlling ours. And they've been buying comedians to go over there and then come back and say good things about the place. Yeah. And yeah, they've allowed women to drive. How big of them? But there's still so much those countries need to do. And I'm not going to get into the argument now, but the point of it is Saudi Arabia have been buying their way to having a good reputation, and they've been buying up sports and all kinds of things. A very shady looking deal. On a, I'd say, because not so rich, or maybe because they're more clever, I'm not sure, but on a lesser scale, the government of Israel have been doing exactly the same thing. And um, they've been, I think, whilst when I saw Tommy go over there, I felt some of their remarks about us as a country I didn't like personally. I thought they were all about them and not didn't care about us. That's personally how I felt. Yeah, but I'm talking about the government. But you know, I don't trust any government, and nor should anybody. And with them, they're doing the same thing. They're buying people, or trying to, and trying to get them to go away saying good things, even though they say they don't care what people think. Well, they do if they're buying people, and it's not a conspiracy theory. I mean, there's been so many people been caught. I say caught. It's not that a lot of them don't even really hide it. That's why it's like the Saudi Arabia thing. It's not a conspiracy because people know, and therefore they call these people out for it. And what can they do but admit it and say, oh, and then they justify it. That's how you know it's true, because they don't deny it; they justify it. So whether it's from Israel or from Saudi, and I think for many of us that don't have a religious interest, that don't have a dog in the race or whatever else, we look at all this and we think, hang on a minute, these are Middle Eastern countries. And I'm not got ignorant enough to say there's no difference, but we look at it and we think these are Middle Eastern countries with their own interests. And what the fuck's this got to do with us? Why is it, no matter whether we get a left or right government in, why do they all seem to be attracted to working with this government all the time? Why is there a constant bias towards it, no matter what? No matter what? And so again, I think you look at both countries, Saudi Arabia and Israel. and you look at what their governments are doing, and there's a lot of questions to be asked. So, and I think that's then why so many people, so many of us are looking, and I'm speaking of laymen here, why a layman like me will be looking and thinking, do you know what, you don't just get to call a bunch of people racist because they're asking a question about why is so much of our country geared towards this and not towards our own country. It's a fair thing to ask, and I think that we would ask it if it was any other group of people. But I think we feel a bit awkward because of many people see an attack on Israel as an attack on the Jews, and I think they're two separate things. I really do, and I think when you conflate the two, then you're missing the point. So yeah, people can perceive that as a racism or a hate against the Jews or whatever they want to perceive it as. But the fact that it is, yeah, I think Israel definitely are up to no good and have been for a while because it's in their actions. Um, Same for Saudi Arabia; it's not even being hidden, and their objective is obvious. The only thing I see with Israel with Saudi that may be backfiring on them is that the culture may actually assimilate them from feeding back from the feedback loop. But yeah, it is concerning when we're prepared to spend so much money, even potentially create a world war for these people, when these governments, when you think about it, our special relationship with America means that we won't even get involved. Should mean that we get involved in the wars that they do. I'm not saying we should and shouldn't. I'm just saying if that special relationship was as real as we pretend it is, then we would be, right. But I think with certain people, if they got into power, and certainly with Starmer, which side he's on, they would, they're with Israel, it's a whole different kettle of fish. And we don't have a special relationship with them, But I think it wouldn't take too wrong a circumstances, I don't know. I don't know. Um, yeah. So you see this, and you see this, and like I say, all world governments are fucking corrupt. Yeah. And it's just not all of them have got the same amount of money to pull off this shit. But there's other governments doing it as well. Russia does what it does. But yeah, why should Israel be left off the hook? And then why does it have so many of us on, or say us? Why does it have so many people on the right sort of going out and supporting it? I can understand someone saying if I weigh up the two sides, I would pick Israel. I get that, but I don't get why someone would want to go and die on the hill over it as a normal Brit. Especially like I think you've got the luxury to do things like that, and I idealize and be that when your own country isn't facing annihilation. And that's not too dramatic, I don't think. But yeah, I think that's what it is. I think that's what has some people puzzled. I think it's right to have them puzzled, and when they see other people coming out in such support of it, you know, I think, yeah, again, it's understandable. Because surely, like I say, with Saudi Arabia, most of us know to be standoffish because of the way that they are, you know? So why don't we treat other people, other countries that do the same thing the same way? We should be with any country that does that. And I think that's what people's problems are. If I'm understanding it right, because I know what my fucking problems are. I know what my problem's been as I've been watching. And that is this over the top kind of alliance that, yeah, that makes little sense for us, for Britain, you know? So I think people are right to question it. So yeah, I just don't want to I don't want people to use certain words like ethno-nationalist to be an excuse to, um, sorry, hang on. I don't want them to use that as an excuse. I was always taught when I came in this movement, ethno-nationalist equals bad. And it's not as simple as that. Not way anywhere near as close as that. And you are dismissing millions and millions of people if you do that, um, who've got a wide range of beliefs. And that's what, I come to learn once I stopped just listening to other people telling me what I should think. And it became a lot more complicated. Yeah, there was people like every system and every belief system, there are people at the extremes of every system. But yeah, to just treat that word as though it means racist is wrong. And to have any sensible conversations about any of this, we need to stop doing that, because we're doing what the left does. Um, it was different back in the day when we got attacked because we were being attacked by exactly that type of people that really did believe in the Austrian painter and stuff like that. That's different. But when you're talking about an entire group of people, there's millions through Europe. We need to understand all of that, and stop just saying racist because it triggers certain people, and that they're being triggered by ignorance, not by actual racism, and that's what pisses me off. If it was actual racism, I could understand it, you know, because I'm not racist, so I could understand it if it was, but they're being triggered by the idea of what. Yeah, I'm not even. I think I've said enough. Anyway, I'm tired. Tom Fury, 0 News. Couldn't do for now.